Blender tutorial, take 2. Hey, welcome guys to another awesome Blender tutorial right here, the movie show on Active TV. I'm so glad you guys could join me for the second episode. Well, I did call this episode number 2. So, welcome back, and today I've got an awesome in-depth tutorial for you. If you guys have not seen my previous tutorial, you might want to go check that out because I start with the very fundamental and the basics of Blender, what it is, who does what on it, and why it works wonderfully. It is free. If you want to check that out, there is a link over there that I've just put there. Go watch that first. So let's just jump straight right into this tutorial. Before we can begin modeling, we need to understand the fundamentals of what is called topology. What is topology? Topology is basically so last week you learned about how to extrude and how to shape your basic shape, so the basic standard shapes that you get into whatever item you are wanting to model. And we did that, like I said, through extrusion. We did that through what's called edge loops. We added edge loops. We even did a short quick tutorial, and I modeled a very simple chair as an illustration. Like I said, you want to go check that video out. But you can't just take a shape and start pushing and pulling as much as you want. There needs to be a method in which you do it. And this is called topology. Now, I did not learn topology when I first started off doing 3D. And so I ran into a lot of issues, and that's what happens if you don't get your method of modeling right from the beginning. You could end up with a lot of weird meshes and meshes with like weird looking artifacts, different items that you model. You're gonna have different surfaces. Some surfaces need to be hard, and that's called a hard surface modeling. While some items you want completely flat, like a floor or a tile. Other items you want nice with a nice smooth couch. Let's say you're modeling something like a cushion. You want it nice and curved, nice and round. You need to understand that when you are creating your mesh, you need to do it in a very specific way, thinking ahead and not just what works at that time. The first thing that you need to understand is that you're going to need to start off with a reference image, right? You can go ahead, you can give it a shot. If you have a fantastic photographic memory, awesome, good on you. For the rest of us, we need to get reference images, right? And so you can go jump on the internet, and now let's say, for example, I'm going to model a chair, all right? Don't just go and search any chair on the internet, and I'm going to tell you why. Because if you're going to do that, unless you get every single angle of the chair, as in front, side, and top, and a lot of the time the bottom of the same chair, the exact same chair, fine, go ahead. But if you're just going to go randomly go pick any chair on the internet, the problem with this chair is that you don't have all the sides. You're going to want to get the measurements and all the specifics. What I suggest is that you go look up a specific model, a specific series of something that's got a name, perhaps a specific design. And I'll just use a stupid example. Let's say, e.g., I'm going to model the iPhone S, which I have done. And you can see that I can easily get images here of the iPhone 5S. You can see I've got the back, I've got the front, and I've got the side. And most of the time you can even then, just because I know the model name, I can say bottom, and I can get to the bottom of it. You want to make sure that it's a high quality image, and also I can't choose an image like this because it's angled. You're not going to get the specifics right. My other image, remember, it was a direct top flow of it. So when you look at something like this, it's a complete down on the image, and that is nice to use as a reference. Alright, but Ryan, what if I want to photograph my item itself? Yes, sure. You can go ahead. You can do that. I did that, and I'm going to show you exactly what to do once you have done that. All right, they weren't very they were just quite quick. So I've got my top, my side, my bottom, because there's details that I want to get in there, and then you can see I have my front of my Lego block. And so now what you want to do is jump straight into Blender, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to delete everything. And you can do that by pressing A and then X and say delete all. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to load the top image. Now remember, we learned about the different X's, so you want to use those. Alright, now the way that you load an image is you can press Shift A, you can load image, reference image, and then you can go straight to wherever your image is. And this is something very important to show you. So there's my Lego blocks. I'm going to load my top. If I load it just straight off like this, you can see my image is going to be at an angle, and we don't want that. You want it from the top. So with your gizmo over here, you can click Z. Alright, I'm using a MacBook Pro, so I don't have my numpad, but I believe you can press 1, 3 or 7. Just check which one it is. 1, 3 and 7 in your numpad, on your right hand side of your keyboard. Now I can load that reference image up. I can do top. But now, because of the way that I've actually loaded my image, what you want to do is you want to make sure that this reference image is going to load up with all my other reference images. So you're going to need to just line it up. And what do I mean by that? Okay, first of all, let's make this thing a bit transparent. So with my reference image selected, you can see it loads it in here. If you want to name it, you can name it as well. That does help, like a heck of a lot. You'll see over here, you can go in here, you can click transparent, and I'm going to make it 0.25% transparent. And now I'm going to use my grids to line it up, because I'm going to line up my other images according to those grids as well. Because if I go to the other views, you will see that when I go to my other view, I've got the grid and I've got the grid. Alright, so let's say for argument's sake, not for argument's sake, we're going to do this. Alright, I can move my image. I can press G, which means grab, and I can move it. So I'm going to make the center of my Lego block here the center of my grid here as well. Then let's say I think that I'm going to make it, I'm going to use these grid lines over here. I don't know if you can see, but they look slightly heavier, so I'm just going to line them up. So there. Okay, scale. I'm going to grab it along the X. Okay, there. So I've lined it up with that, lined it up with that, and I've lined it up just about center. Alright, yes, I'm getting very picky with the way that I'm doing this. You will find out now. I'm not going to, okay, and I think it just needs a slight bit of a rotation, just so that it can line up over there. Right, now that I've done that, I'm going to load my, go to Y. Alright, so Y is basically the side view of the block. Shift A, image, reference image. It's going to take me back there. Now the way that I took this photo, I did take it upside down, no problem. I'm going to press R for rotation. I need to rotate it 180 degrees, so followed by 180. And then I'm going to hit enter. And I make it transparent, also 0.25. And now I know that this block needs to line up with this grid line over here. And where am I? Oh, there you go. So that grid line over there and this grid line over here. Okay, cool. So let's first start off by scaling it down roughly between those two grids. I'm going to move it a bit on the x-axis by pressing G and then X. I'm going to click. Okay, let's go back. Now I know that these two, I need to line it up with this guy here and this guy here. So S for scale, G and X. Alright, there you go. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to line the bottom of the block with the floor with my grid floor. G for grab, Z because I'm going to grab it in the Z axis, line it up nicely over there. Okay, I think you get the picture now what I'm basically doing here. Alright, and then the last thing I need to do on the floor plane there. There you go. So now I've got all the views of my block that I'm going to model. And the last thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to move this guy, grab X, just roughly to the edge there, because I'm going to put my block here. And then just name it quickly. I'm naming it front. Maybe you like the other side is front. Let's just unhide this guy, and let's grab it in the Y axis. about over there. Cool. Alt A, deselects everything. Alright, so there I've got it. Don't forget to save. I'm going to save this. Now, the first thing you need to look for is we've got, if you shift A and you go to meshes, you've got like different preset, well, not presets, but shapes that Blender will add in for you already. You've got to find the shape that is closest to your to whatever you're modeling. So obviously it's a block, so not a plane. I'm going to do a cube. And now what I can do is I can go to each side view. Alright, now here's some cool tip shortcuts for you, so get your notebook out. The first one is if I press Z. The first one is if I press Z, I then get this pie menu and I can choose between wireframe, rendered, solid, or material preview. So if I go to wired mode, then you can see my whole block has become, it just shows the wireframe of it. Alright, have a look there. See, there is my cube. Alright, press Z again. I can go to rendered and I can go to material preview. We're going to get on these a bit later on. Solid, that's what it does. Now, you can also keep your model within solid view, and if I press Alt Z, it's going to make it a bit transparent, which is what you want. So let's go back to Y. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to shape this block according to this. So the first thing I want to do is I want to get this block on the grid floor. So I can grab it, G, Z, up here until my block is on the grid floor. Then the next thing I'm going to do is now I'm going to start pulling down. I'm going to go into edit mode, you can press tab. Now here's another shortcut for you. So I've talked about the fact that you can alter your mesh within edit mode. So tab, like I've spoken about before, tab changes between object mode and edit mode. Edit mode allows you now to start shaping your mesh. So if I go into edit mode, I can form my mesh by changing the different vertices, or I can go by edges, or I can go by selecting different faces. I'm going to use face selection. And another way that you can actually do it is if you, so on top of your keyboard, you've got the numbers on top. So you've got your numpad, and then you've also got your numbers right on top. The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 across like that, using 1, 2, and 3. First one is vertices, second one is edge selection, and the third one is face selection. So I can select 3, and that puts me into face selection. I can grab this guy, and then G for grab, and Z because that's the axis I'm going to move it in. Alright, there you go. Okay, and then the sides look like they're in, but I'm not going to take any chances. I'm going to select my first edge, and I'm going to come around this side, shift, select. So I've got both edges, go back to my y-axis. I'm going to not grab now because I'm not going to move it, I'm going to scale it in. Alright, so S, and within the x-axis, and yeah, there you go. Alright, go out of edit mode, press tab. Now all that's left is I'm going to go to my x-axis, and you can see, yeah, it's too wide. Alright, and this is what I was talking about. See, I've got a reference image here in front of me, but I can still see my block. Okay, so into edit mode, select this side, and shift select this side. Go back to here. You see, I'm being very, very specific. Scale and Y in the y-axis. See the green line? That is your Y. So S, and then Y, and Bobby's your uncle. Okay, go out of edit mode, and there you go. So now we have our fundamental, our block. Alright, we've got our starting point, Command, Control, Save, so that if anything happens, we don't lose what we've done. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to start cutting in these top parts over here, right? So Now the question that you might ask me is, okay, Ryan, so I've got a block here, looking specifically at a Lego block, right? So I've got a Lego block here. Alright, there's a small one, there's a big one. If you want to get a bit more closer, you've got the round edges, and you've also got these round parts over here. So just looking at the details. And the question that you might have for me now is, okay, Ryan, but now my question is, you've got a block, how do you get the round small bits out of my mesh? And this is where I'm going to teach you the thing of, first of all, we're going to add a modifier called subdivision modifier that is going to smooth off my mesh. Alright, I'm going to hit Alt Z, and that is then going to bring back my solid view. And so going over here to my modifiers, adding in my subdivision modifier, oh my goodness, what has happened to my mesh? What the subdivision modifier basically does is it smoothens off your mesh. I'm just going to push up the levels here up to 4, and it smoothens off your mesh. If I go into edit mode, I can see my original frame versus what the subdivision modifier does. What the subdivision modifier basically does is it smoothens off your mesh. It takes this point over here and that point over there, and it averages it out. Alright, and the same with this way. That's why you've got this sort of round. What we're going to do is we're going to add in edge loops. And what an edge loop is, let me show you. So in edit mode, I'm going to click Command R, and you can see I've got this little guy that's busy highlighting over here. And wherever I go, we've spoken about this before, I can add in these edge loops. Now once I click, I then have the option of sliding it. And you can see as I'm sliding it, the closer to another edge I get, the more harder the actual edge gets. Alright, and so this is the method that we're going to use to add in these guys over here and also get our block back again. Right, so the first thing we're going to do is we are going to Command R from this view, and I'm going to go to this edge and Command R again, go to this side. Now I'm sure you can see that, and exactly what I've just showed now, the closer to the edge I get, the more harder the edge gets. Now obviously we've still got this round shape because I need to apply it to the other side. And let's say once I've applied it, I can just, having the edge selected, I can double tap G and I can still slide it along there. Alright, so I've got it quite as close as possible to there. Alright, Command R, and I'm going to do this. And I'm going to do the bottom. And basically you need to do all of the edges. Alright, like I said, the closer to the edge you get, the more square it is. I personally, looking at the anatomy, looking at the anatomy of the Lego block, the surface is not 100% hard. It's not a very, very hard surface. It's got a little bit of a very soft, hard edge. Now I want to select this edge loop over here. I can hold in Alt and click on it, and it selects the whole. If you don't click Alt, you're just going to select each edge on its own. So holding down Alt, selecting the edge selects the whole loop. Double tap that G. Looks like I can't get any closer, but now going out of edit mode, you can see now it's actually got quite a satisfying, nice edge there. So we are definitely getting somewhere now. I think the last edge that I just need to do, Command R, is this one on this end over here. I just want to get a bit more closer. Oh, no, not inside. A bit more closer. And you're going to see how the subsurface modifier, so double G, the subsurface modifier is going to help us create the round ends on top. And I'm going to show you that as well, because I'm going to turn the modifier off and I'm going to show you what the block looks like. Okay, there you go. That's out of edit mode. Okay, that's a very nice, satisfying looking mesh right there. Very nice. And the great thing is this, is that these little guys over here, going into vertice mode, these little guys over here, the more you have, the more heavier your actual model gets within your program. So if you have a lot of them, the mesh becomes heavy, your program starts lagging, your machine starts slowing down, you start becoming very frustrated. So doing it this way, I've used a minimal amount of edge loops. Okay, if I'm not going to put on these round little knobs on top here, let's call them knobs or knobs, these little connecting thingamajiggies on top here, I probably don't have to add on the subsurface modifier. Alright, I can keep my mesh. So over here, in my modifier tab, I've got my subsurface modifier here. I can turn it on and off, as in I can alter it. Alright, in fact, so let's just talk about these ones over here. So the first, it's basically on or off. This one over here means that you turn it on or off for the actual render. Alright, we'll talk about that later. This one turns it off for, so let me go into edit mode here. Into object mode. You see how hard it is? So this turns it on and off for your actual display. See there? Then this one over here, basically this is for when I go into edit mode. Remember, I saw my original mesh, so this turns it so that you can also see it within edit mode. Now this guy over here will show you what subsurface modifying is actually doing to your mesh. Let me show you quickly. So I add it on. You see now it's adding in more edge loops. It's making it look a lot it's a lot nicer. Alright, so going out again. Now I'm going to turn off the edge loop modifier, and today you're going to learn a very important lesson, so please keep your notebooks open there and your pens ready to write, because how on earth, Ryan, do I now create these round knobs, or knobs depending on if you're South African, knobs or African, otherwise you can just say knobs. I'll keep it to knobs for everyone. How do I create these knobs? So this is how I'm going to do it, and this is where this subsurface modifier is really going to help us. Okay, and then something else we're going to do, which is pretty cool, is I'm going to show you how we can do two of them, and then we're going to duplicate it across, because if you look at this, it's literally, it's mirrored. See there, you can actually see how it's mirrored. Quite nice, hey? Quite nice. Okay, here we go. So back into edit mode, my subsurface modifier is off. Alright, I'm going to add Command R, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start over here. I'm going to put an edge loop right over there. I'm just going to cut in a bit closer here. Now notice that the way that I shot this block, even though if I shot straight down, because I'm quite close, I'm getting a bit of an angle out of this one. So you know the edge of this knob over here is not here, that's the top of it. The edge of it right at the bottom against the base of the block is actually roughly around over there, judging about the thickness. So keeping my mouse over here, I'm going to add another edge loop here. Come on, Mr. Edge loop. Okay, escape. I think I just need to get a bit more close to the edge. There you go. And I'm going to slide it. I'm going to put it about over there. Then I'm going to add another edge loop. Ba-boom, over here. Same thing on this end. And another guy over here. Righty then. Okay, I'm going to do the same for this side over here. Let's just do this side as well. And I think what I need to do is, can I just do this now? I'm going to do this half now, because I need to think about this later, about that mirroring option. I need to set the half, so GG, because I've already set it. So I'm just going to slide this perfectly on there. So I've got my halfway line, and in fact, since I'm going to do that, let me just saw my... Now guys, we're going to finish this tutorial with a bit of a challenge that I'm going to continue into next week, because there's something with this model I still not have been able to accomplish, and we're going to talk that a bit later. I promise you, I sat up until late last night trying to figure out how on earth do I do this, and I looked at other guys that have modeled this Lego block, and they've done it a different way. So I've come to the conclusion that there is no answer, but maybe I can leave us with a bit of a challenge for next week. Alright, so I've got my half off. That's the only reason why I did that. Okay, let's continue. So I'm going to get this little knob out here. Okay, great. What on earth are you doing, right? Right, here we go. Are you ready for this? I'm going to stick with my gut feeling over here. And I am going to load my bottom reference image here quickly. Let's quickly do this because we didn't do this in the beginning. Shift A, no, out of edit mode. Shift A, image, reference. We go back here to my bottom because I need to just get a few details over here. Obviously I need to make this transparent, 0.25. Okay, there you go. So I've lined that all up. I'm going to select my cube, and now what I want to do is I want to extrude all of these. So face selection. Alright, by the way, here's another thing you can do. If you press C, you've got this beautiful circle over here, and then you can just drag. And scrolling the wheel makes the circle bigger or smaller. Okay, I hope I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. Okay, E for extrude, scale. I'm going to scale it down. Alright, I don't know if you can see when I'm scaling it, it seems to be scaling more on the edges than on the top and the bottom bit. So I'm also then going to scale on the wide just to make sure that it's sort of even out. There you go. Alright, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to extrude it in. So go to my side view, Alt Z to go into that X-ray sort of mode. And the reason I'm doing this part first now is because I want to harden the edges on the inside, and I know that once I start working on top here, it's going to mess up when I want to add in the edge loops. Alright, I've learned that already, and this is all part of topology. You got to sort of think of your mesh ahead of time. Alright, so here we go. Alright, E for extrude, in the Z axis. Let's go up here, and I think I'm going to stop at about over there. I've clicked. Okay, it's done. So Alt Z to go out of X-ray mode, and there she is. Let's just hide the bottom of the image. So there you go. There I've got my block now. Pretty nice. And on top, and so before I even touch that guy over there, which we might even just put back, let me put on my subsurface modifier, and I'm going to show you exactly what the problems that I ran in here. Just going to hit save, go back into object mode, hit save. Let's go back to my modifier, and let's throw this dude on here. Alright, so you can see it's smooth on the inside. It's not hard like a Lego block. Alright, so let's go into edit mode, and it is, I'm needing, so Command R, let's go as close to that edge as possible. Even if you push it right against there, that's okay. Alright, the other guy is, let's just go to edit mode here. Now can you see how you got these round edges here? And that is because you are needing, my goodness, you are needing to add in a nice edge loop over here. And you're needing to add in a edge loop over here. It's pretty darn close. If you look at this, my mesh is still, it's not great, man. It's not great at all. What happened? My word. Okay. And you can actually see now how I'm running into problems because of the way that I've worked here today. And this is what I'm talking about when it comes down to topology. And I think that my problem here is the fact that I extruded this in without creating an edge, because yeah, I need an edge loop over here as well. Right, you understand what I'm saying? So I'm going to undo until I can get down to that extrusion. There you go. So the first things first. I understand from what I've just done is that I'm needing, so I'm going to hide my image here quickly so I can get a nice view. I'm needing an edge loop over here, and I need an edge loop over here on the inside as well. That is what is going to strengthen these edges on this outside here. Okay, so, and the other thing is that I've already done all of this work over here. So I'm sorry to say this, but these guys have to go here. There's no better way for me to explain topology than run into issues here. Look, I can tell you need to do this, you need to do that, but unless I show you why and how you need to be careful, you're not really going to know why. And you can see how wonderful it is. Okay, so again, I'm going to merge these two vertices together. Select that one, then this one, because I want them to merge over here. Press M, add last, M, add last. Oh, no. Let's try that again. Select that guy, merge, add last. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to Alt and select these edges here. The one we can, this guy we can keep here, and this guy we. Okay, and I'm going to say dissolve edges just so to keep. Okay, so there we are with our basic block system. So what did we learn? Is that I need to have double edge loops on each corner, right? Yes, which I have already actually. So let's select this guy. I just want to get him a bit more closer. I'm going to turn on my modifier just to see exactly what I'm doing here, and I'm going to grab it, just push it nicely. It's not doing it. Okay, no problem. It's in the direction of X, so grab X, get those edge loops nice and tight on there. Grab in Y. Okay, I just want to see if I'm still, yes, look at that surface. That is nice. I'm very happy with that. Now what I'm going to be doing is I need to keep those edge loops, because what I did is I face selected and I just extruded straight up, which got rid of that edge loop. Okay, that I cannot do. So I've created my edge loop. I'm happy with the way things are here. So what I'm going to do then, from here, E for extrude and scale like we did earlier on. So I've still got that edge there. Okay, reminder that I'm going thicker here than here, so let's just scale it down in Y so I can keep it nice and balanced. That looks about right. Okay, here we go. Now let's try this now. Haha. Alright, so just to confirm, I have double edge loops on both of the side. Wait a minute, but I'm going to need an edge loop on this side as well. Yes, okay, great stuff. So I've got that one edge. I'm going to extrude and scale. Now this is a great time to teach you this. So remember, if you want to extrude or move something in a certain axis, you just either hit Y, X or Z. But if I do shift, let's say I don't want this thing to extrude in Z, I want it to extrude along the X and the Y, right? Not along the Z. E for extrude, S, right, for scale, and then I want to move it in the X and Y. I want to exclude the Z, so shift Z. There you go. Alright, can you see now? So there you go. So that's what I've done. You can see it. It's not extruding in any other direction but the Z and Z. Okay, so I'm going to just create another edge right before the current edge. I think the best way I can look at this is like this. Let me move here. Alright, I think that edge is right on the edge there. Okay, let's S and then still shift Z. Just a nice little edge. You can see it's more there than there, so S, Y. There you go. Now we've got an edge You know what, and I bet you there's a faster way to do this. And you know what, guys, here's a lesson to learn. And if any of you guys know who Andrew Cram is from videocopilot.com, he always said, you know what, there's always better ways to do things. And there's always lots of ways to achieve a specific effect, but the important thing is that you achieve the effect. Alright, so that's what's important. So we're achieving the effect. Okay, so now I've got an on this edge, I've got an edge loop there, so it's going to be a nice hard surface. Then I've got an edge loop here. Right, now we're going to extrude. So now I've got my edge. And now I'm going to extrude. We're going to just extrude right up. So E for extrude in the direction Z. And here we go. And you can see how my modifier is already kicked in. So I'm going to stop at about there. Great. Now I want to show you, man, I'm actually so glad we ran into this problem, because now I want to show you what's actually achievable if we do our proper topology. Because imagine I didn't do my topology, I would have been sitting here, you would have been like stuffing around and been like, man, why is the edges so round? Oh, and then you would have spent like 3-4 hours. Right, so now all that's missing here is my edge loop on the insides and the top there. Right, so Command R or Control R, do that. Okay, Command R, go to the top. Okay, hang on, I'm going to need go into X-ray mode. Okay, GG, because it's already, the edge loop's already created. Go to the top there. Alright, and then the last thing, well, not the last thing, but face select mode. Alright, so now let's face selection mode. Alright, you want to be careful. Okay, Alt Z takes me into X-ray mode. And that little dot over there is the other side of the block. You don't want to select that, so I've gone out again just to make sure that I am selecting the right mode. Extrude, scale, Shift Z, just that little bit here. Alright, and then to get rid of these guys over here, you can see we're already getting there. Okay, sure, and you thought Lego blocks were easy, huh? Let me see what happens if I now add my X-ray. I'm nervous, I'm so nervous, but there you go. No, we are still getting round edges. Why are we getting round edges? And I think once I add this one in, got a lot of edge loops on the side here. Oh, look at that. Alright. Like I said, what's important here is that we have achieved we have achieved the results with a lot of edge loops. My goodness gracious me. Some modeler is looking at me right now and saying, dude, what are you doing, man? Don't do that, bro. Anyway. Alright, so just to remind you, I'm Command R-ing my edge loop and I'm making sure that it is along the right axis. And I think doing this one would have taken the care of the opposite side as well. Okay, there you go. Object mode, and there is our block. Congratulations, we've got ourselves a nice Lego block with a subsurface modifier on it. So you see those edges, they're hard, but then they almost got this like nice smooth hard edge to it. Alright, Command S to save. Let me just have a look. So what, how difficult was that? Look how many edge loops I've got in there, guys. It's like, wow. I'm going to test and try and see. You know what? I bet you the first edge loops I created, edge loops that I created weren't that necessary. But anyway, okay. So there you go. So now guess what we can do. Now watch. Okay. Now we come to the end of our tutorial, because literally all I'm going to do now, just load my reference image here. I'm going to need the front and the back. So let's quickly let's wrap this guy up, Tom. Okay, so here we go. You remember how we did this, right? So we're going to create this guy over here. We're going to create this guy over here. In fact, do you remember we used the top reference? I think it would have been easier if we used the the side reference. You see, we learn new things every day. Okay, I'm looking for this front one here, right? Because it's closest to the edge, so I know it's the most correct. Okay, brilliant. There you go. Create this dude over here. And remember I said we're going to be mirroring. So I'm literally only going to create 2. And then we're going to double them. Okay, before we get there. Alright, so we're going to take these 2, we're going to extrude them. Alright, we're selecting these 2 guys here. I'm going to show you now how we're going to do this. I know exactly, I've just clicked. Okay, alright. Are you ready for this? Extrude, scale, shift Z, which what it does is I'm extruding. And there you go. So there's my first edge that I'm putting on there. Alright, let's just do it the same. This one, E for extrude, S for scale, shift Z because I'm doing an X and Y. Alright, then we're going to select these 2 faces. Go along here. Then I'm going to extrude them up. E for extrude, Z in the Z axis. I'm going to push this guy to here. Alright, don't look at your mesh because we're gonna get that. We're gonna fix that up now. Look at where you extruded to. Alright, I've done both of them, right? Yes, you have. Alright, cool. Now all I need to do is to harden these edges is Command R. Need to add another guy over there. Look at that edge, hey? Wow, that looks like the edge of a winner. Okay, Command R and to the top. Okay, same with this guy. And same with this guy. We're going to mirror it, and then that is going to be the end of our tutorial. Next week we will continue with the bottom halves. I'm going to show you how to do those because, okay, face selection, which is 3 on my keyboard, not 1. Okay, I'm going to do one at a time. Let's go to my top view. Zoom in on this guy. E for extrude, S for scale, and shift Z because there you go, look at that. And you'll see if I bring it in more, the edge gets a little bit softer. If I do this, and it gets a lot better. It is oval shape looking. I'll show you how to fix that. E for extrude, S for scale, shift Z because I wanted to go only in the X and Y axis. Right, that's it. Go into object mode. I'm going to push up my subsurface modifier here. Alright, there she is. Alright, next week I think we are going to tackle these guys. But just from modeling this far, you know, oh yeah, wait, hang on. I said we were going to sort out the mirroring part, didn't I? Alright, easiest part to do. I'm going to select this guy. And I'm going to go into face selection mode. Select this half. Oh yeah, going to X-ray mode, Alt Z, so I can make sure I'm selecting the faces underneath it as well. There you go. And then I'm holding down Shift, and I'm going to drag over these guys here. Delete. I'm going to delete the faces. So all I'm left with now, going back into object mode, is this dude over here. Right, and now what you're going to do is you're going to add a mirror modifier. This modifier over here, mirror. And what this basically does is it mirrors your mesh, and you can select over here within your options in which axis you want to modify it. So X being there, so you can see I've mirrored it, and then Y being this side. Alright, you do have that little guy right there, is to go into edit mode, and you're going to apply. Okay, please keep on clipping. Click clipping here in your mirror modifier, because what that does is it's going to clip over here together so your mesh isn't loose. Alright, and then we're going to go into this mode, and I'm going to go Command R. I'm going to add in edge loop right against this side. There you go. My machine is lagging. I've got a subsurface modifier and now this mirror option on here as well, so that's going to, and I'm recording, so it's going to, I've got a 2013 Mac, MacBook Pro. It's an i7 with 8 gigs of RAM. Not a great graphics card, it's an Intel Iris Pro. It's only a 1.5 gigs, so you know, excuse the lag. There you go. So now that I've added in those edges, to harden those edges, I'm going back into object mode. Alt A to deselect. I'm going out of my X-ray mode by clicking Alt Z, and you got yourself a Lego block. Okay, now, okay, and I'm saving, and I mean, look how satisfying these edges look here. Alright, looks really nice. Okay, I know these aren't perfectly round. The way that you can fix that, and maybe you can fix that yourself, is just by okay, I'm going to take off my, now the nice thing is that, let me show you something about the mirroring. When I go into edit mode, whatever alt here, it's still going to change it over there. Alright, so if I take these things over here and I grab them and I move them, you will see that they affect the rest of my mesh. Okay, it's not showing now. My machine is there. I don't know if you can see that it's affecting the rest of my block. Okay, I've just hit escape. So what you can do is just head into your top view. Alright, I'm going to turn off my subsurface modifier, and I'm going to turn off my mirroring. And what you can do, what you got to do is very cleverly, is select this. Alright, so hang on, let's just quickly check this. Can I turn on my subsurface modifying? Alright, so having these blocks selected, all of them on the top. Okay, sorry, go into X-ray mode, so you make sure you've got everything selected. Alright, so I've got, in fact, you can even go into, no, I prefer the vertices because of all these edge loops here. Alright, go out of X-ray mode, Alt Z, and then I can grab these in the Y-axis and I can just pull it down a little bit. Let's see if that, there you go, see now they're looking a bit more rounder. Alright, you might also want to, just to make sure that you're not moving these over too much, shift and select, sorry, in X-ray mode, Alt Z, shift and select all of these, and then you can instead use scale in Y. And that should give you, the nice thing is that if I go back into object mode and I have a look and I go back into edit mode, I've still got these selected over here. Pretty nice, eh? Okay, let's go out of X-ray mode. Now, those look somewhat a lot better, a lot rounder. Okay, so let's add back in our mirroring mode, and we have our Lego block. Okay, so you guys know a bit more about topology. We're going to do this bottom part over here. Alright, I'm going to, yeah, we're going to look at those. I'm going to hit save. Alright, anyway, so yeah, so there you go. We've built our Lego block. I've shown you guys about subdivision and how careful you need to be. Now, when I checked on other modelers and how they did it, they didn't really add in those bottom parts into the act. In other words, they didn't extrude them out the mesh. They just created new meshes, and with the what is it called? I think it's called, if I add a they added in basically a sphere, a cylinder. So they basically added in a cylinder, and they just added that in and joined it together as a group. They never really extruded it out of the mesh, and that was the challenge with the Lego block. You saw we got the top part beautifully. We ran into the problem with adding edge loops to make sure that the edges are nice and smooth. But you get now a taste of topology and how you need to model your object so carefully, thinking ahead, and sometimes you might find yourself having to restart again, and that's okay, because that's how we learn. All right, a lot of guys learn. They spend long hours in their actual modeling software, so it does happen. This was a long tutorial, but I hope that it was extremely useful to you guys. Show me the stuff that you've modeled. All right, my email address, there it is right there. Send me stuff. You can ask me questions. Tell me if there's a better way that perhaps you found around doing the Lego block extruding out. I must say it is a very challenging object to model. I don't know how how you would extrude all of this out of one mesh. Quite a challenge, but like I said, we've learned about topology and about how you need to create on how you need to model and extrude carefully, thinking ahead and keeping your edges smooth without you having issues down the line. Anyway guys, subscribe to Active TV. We have loads of stuff that we release every single day, so you'll get the notifications when you hit the bell button as well. And so guys, I'll see you guys next week on this Blender tutorial. This is the movie show, Blender tutorial episode 2. Next week we'll be doing episode 3 on how we will do those bottom halves. Alright, until next week, cheers guys.